Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakacharya Astatara Sata, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 7, Text 30. Grihita yadya rupa bandhama mushyamata. Shobham sutasya natutatada mushyamati. Yadstrimbatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi. Samvikshya sankita mana pratibodhitasit. Grinita yadya rupa bandhama mushyamata. Shobham sutasya natutatada mushyamati. Yadstrimbatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi. Samvikshya sankita mana pratibodhitasit. Grinita yadya rupa bandhama mushyamata. Shobham sutasya natutatada mushyamati. Yadstrimbatosya vadane bhuvanani gopi. Samvikshya shankita mana pratibodhitasit. Sobam sitasya natutata mushyamati yadshrim bhatasya vadanam purvani loki. Vaishnavis. Vihita yadya rupa bandhama mushyamata Sobam sutasya natutata mushyamati Indratofi Ani Gopi Diksha Sankitamana Pratibodhitasi Granita by taking up yet whatsoever Upabandham ropes for tying Amushya his Mata mother Shobham ropes Sutasya of her son Na not to however Tat by and by Amushya his Mati was sufficient yet that which Drimbataha opening the mouth Asya of him Vadane in the mouth Bhuvanani the worlds Gopi the cowherd woman Samviksha so seeing it Shankita Manaha doubtful in mind Pratibodhita convinced in a different way Asit was so done. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. When the cowherd woman, Krishna's foster mother Yashoda, was trying to tie the hands of her son with ropes, she found the rope to be always insufficient in length. And when she finally gave up, Lord Krishna, by and by, opened his mouth, wherein the mother found all the universes situated. Seeing this, she was doubtful in her mind, but she was convinced in a different manner of the mystic nature of her son. Purport. One day, Lord Krishna, as the naughty child, disturbed his mother Yashoda, and she began to tie up the child with ropes, just to punish him. But no matter how much rope she used, she found it always insufficient. Thus she became fatigued. But in the meantime, the Lord opened his mouth, and the affectionate mother saw within the mouth of her son all the universes situated together. The mother was astonished, but out of her deep affection for Krishna, she thought that the Almighty Godhead Narayan had kindly looked after her son just to protect him from all the continuous calamities happening to him. Because of her deep affection for Krishna, she could never think that her very son was Narayan, the personality of Godhead himself. That is the action of Yoga Maya, the internal potency of the Lord, which acts to perfect all the pastimes of the Lord with his different types of devotees. Who could play such wonders without being God? Om Jnana Timarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, the Srimad Bhagavatam is put together, composed by Srila Vyasadeva in a very interesting manner. It's a series of questions, put by different personalities to different sages. Questions by Parikshit Maharaj to Shukadeva Goswami. Questions by Shaunaka Rishi on behalf of the sages gathered at Naimisharanya, putting their questions to Sutta Goswami. Then there are conversations within conversations within conversations. It's all related to Krishna, however. But the Srimad Bhagavatam also proceeds in stages, from the first canto to the second to the third. And, different topics are dealt with in a kind of sequence. Actually, Srila Prabhupada says that all the topics of the Srimad Bhagavatam are found in all the different cantos. But still there's some arrangement going from the beginning creation to the secondary creation by Brahma and the other demigods, and so on, culminating in the 10th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna's pastimes are dealt with directly. But even in the beginning cantos, there are previews of coming attractions. We're getting here in the second canto, 7th chapter, some preview of the pastimes of Lord Krishna that will be explained in further detail in the 10th canto. So these pastimes are familiar to most of us. This is about, the pastime of Mother Yashoda. She was trying to tie up Krishna, her child, and every year, we sing the Damodara Ashtakam prayers at that time of year. And then there's also this account of her seeing Krishna's universal form when she had heard that Krishna, child Krishna, had eaten some dirt. Some of the cowherd boys, including Krishna's brother Balaram, had told Yashoda, "Oh, Krishna has eaten some dirt." And she got her child, Krishna, and asked, "Have you been eating dirt?" He said, "No, haven't. What about your friends and your brother Balaram? They say you're eating dirt." He said, No, I'm not. They're just a little angry with me for some reason. I don't know why. So she said, "Okay, I'm going to look in your mouth." And when she did, she became bewildered, because she saw within Krishna's mouth all the universes, planetary systems, all of the elements, all of the different kinds of living entities, and she saw herself in there. And Srila Prabhupada explains that this is the action of Yoga Maya. So, although Krishna is in fact the Supreme Godhead, although he is Narayan, the controller of everything that goes on in the universe, in the highest spiritual planet, Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna exists as a cowherd boy. And this is very bewildering. Lord Brahma wondered, who is this cowherd boy? When Krishna came to this earth planet to display his pastimes in the expansion of the spiritual world, Vrindavan, on this level of reality. So he came and displayed his pastimes, and Brahma, the chief demigod in the universe, wondered, what is so special about this boy? So to kind of test him, Lord Brahma stole his cows and calves and cowherd boyfriends, and Krishna created another set of cows, calves, cowherd boys, and played for a whole year like that. So this is, the influence of Krishna's internal potency, which is known as Yoga Maya. So Mother Yashoda was also influenced by that, by the influence of Yoga Maya. She was thinking, I am the mother of Krishna. He is my child, my son. I have to protect him. I have to feed him. And also, by the influence of Yoga Maya, Krishna, although he is the source and controller of all the universes, he's thinking, yes, I am the child of Nanda and Yashoda, and I depend on them for so many things. So why does he do that? He does it because of enjoyment. Anandamaya Bhyasat, the Vedanta Sutra says, the absolute is there for enjoying. And that's how he enjoys. He enjoys the pleasure of those kinds of relationships with his cowherd friends, with the cowherd girls, with the mother, his mother and father, and the other elderly couples in Vrindavan are thinking, if Krishna were my son, I would do this or that, because Nanda and Yashoda are Krishna's mother and father in Vrindavan. Nobody else has that position, but the others can be thinking, wow, if Krishna were my son, I would treat him like this or that, or I'd be so happy. So that's one reason why Krishna expanded into cowherd boys, to kind of give them that taste, so for a whole year, Krishna played as all the different cowherd boys who'd been captured by Lord Brahma. But in any case, the power of Yoga Maya is such that it can, it bewilders us. So either we're going to be bewildered by Yoga Maya, which is the spiritual potency of the Lord, or we're going to be bewildered by Mahamaya, which is the material potency. In the Vishnu Purana, I think it is stated, Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta, Kshetrajakyatata Para, Avidya Karma Samgyanyan, Tritya Shakti Ishyati. Means Krishna has basically three potencies or energies. One is his spiritual potency, Yoga Maya. And then there is his marginal potency, the Jiva Shakti. And that is what we are part of. And then there is avidya karma, the material potency. And as marginal Jiva Shakti persons, we have the choice to always make to be under the influence of Yoga Maya or the influence of Mahamaya. So it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita. So that means Krishna can be covered by his yogamaya potency. Now, Srila Prabhupada says in many places that Mahamaya is an expansion of Yogamaya. He says it's actually one energy, but it operates in different ways. If it operates in a spiritual manner, when Yogamaya is manifesting the spiritual world and arranging for Krishna's Nitya Leela or pastimes. And Yogamaya also operates on the individual souls, and it facilitates their advancement. She encourages devotees in their advancement in devotional service. But if the jiva resist, loving Krishna, becomes selfish or egotistical, then Mahamaya takes over. In other words, and Srila Prabhupada has said this many times, that Yogamaya expands as Mahamaya to cover the living entity and throw it. There's this covering aspect of Mahamaya and throwing aspect, putting the conditioned soul somewhere else other than the spiritual world. So that curtain of Maya is there, hiding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Of course, Krishna also disappears, hides sometimes from his devotees. It's like Krishna disappeared from the circle of the rasa dance. So he was absent. The gopis were searching for him. They couldn't find him. So the devotee can also be covered in such a way that Krishna is not visible to them. But that is just another feature of spiritual ecstasy, Srila Prabhupada points out. It is the function whereby Krishna becomes visible and invisible, present or not present to his devotees, is part of Yogamaya, this feeling of love for Krishna in separation. So the function of Mahamaya, however, Srila Prabhupada has said, is to cover the reality of Krishna in the spiritual world and substitute an illusory kind of reality to engage the conditioned souls who want to exist independently from him. So that's a different kind of separation. It's a different kind of action of Maya. But, Srila Prabhupada has many times said that actually it's all one energy, Yoga Maya, Mahamaya, it's the same thing. But it's deployed in a different way. And because of that different deployment of the energy, it's given different names. But it's like an electrician can take electricity and can use the electricity for different purposes. So each of us is always faced with the choice of surrendering to Krishna in devotional service or trying to pursue some independent path. And in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Mahatmanas tumam partha daivim prakritim ashritam. That means the Mahatmas, not the Duratmas, but the Mahatmas, the devotees of the Lord, they take shelter of the spiritual potency. It's like we're chanting Hare Krishna. That's an address to Krishna. It's also an address to Krishna's spiritual potency. So we're praying for that, to come under the influence of Krishna's internal spiritual potency, his Hladini Shakti. That is what we're praying for. That is our ultimate goal. So, let's see, what time is it? Okay, I think we'll stop there. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay, Maharaj.
Thank you for a very nice class, especially enlightening us on the different aspects of Maya, Yoga Maya, Mahamaya, etc. And it opens our mind to the idea of illusion, how it can function in a constructive way in the sense of Yoga Maya, and how it can function in a destructive way in Mahamaya. One entangles us more in this world, and the other disentangles us from this world and fills us with the affection, connection, and relationship with Krishna. So I just wanted to make one little comment, if I may, and that is the in this aspect of Yoga Maya, one of the reasons that Krishna appears as all the cowherd boys after Brahma kidnapped those cowherd boys is that most of the mothers and fathers in that community were all very much eager to have Krishna as their son. They wanted him to be theirs. They wanted to be able to love him closely. But how could that happen when Mother Yashoda had him as her son? So he fabricated this little Brahma situation in which Lord Brahma steals the cows and he steals the cowherd boys. And what does Krishna do, as you just mentioned? He converts himself into all the cowherd boys. He makes himself into them. And then when all the cowherd boys come home and they're singing and dancing, something different is there. And the parents, they notice that there's a feeling of, or a greater feeling of love that they ever had for their child before. And what is that greater feeling? Because Krishna has converted himself into all these cowherd boys, and they're really not the cowherd boys. They're only, you might say, the look or position or apparition of the cowherd boys. So they became extremely happy, and Krishna, as we know, does like to satisfy and please and uplift his devotees. And so what he did is that since he is so filled with love, the mothers and the fathers felt that love, and they were uplifted and stimulated and eager to want to bathe them and feed them and look at them and so many things, fathers and mothers. So there we have a very good example where Yoga Maya is used to satisfy his devotees to such an extent that they get the same privilege, the same opportunity that Mother Yashoda gets for that 1 year period. So we can see how kind, how sweet, how loving and warm and caring Krishna is for his devotees, that he would do this particular conversion of himself into cowherd boys, and everyone thought it was the cowherd boys, when in effect the effect that they manifested was anything but the cowherd boys in terms of love, in devotion, intensity, overwhelming feelings and the like. So I talked enough. I'm sorry to take up so much of your time. Do you want to comment on that?
I've got a microphone.
Oh, okay.
But just, I think, who was next? Oh, Ananda Krish, you had your hand up too. Oh, I'll just comment as, I mentioned those points briefly, and you've kind of expanded on them very nicely. Okay.
Okay. Hare Krishna. So in the purport, Prabhupada was describing how Mother Yashoda did not understand how Krishna was God, and I've also read that the other inhabitants of Vrindavan have a similar feeling. They just see Krishna as a cowherd boy. But then we see that sometimes they understand that he's God or he's Narayan. Like the gopis start listing all his incarnations, like in glorification of Krishna and their love for Krishna, they start glorifying all his different incarnations. So is it like back and forth? Like sometimes for fun they understand that he's God, but most of the time they just see him as
It
Krishna.
appears to be, as you were saying, sometimes they're made aware and sometimes not. Now, I don't think that happens in Goloka Vrindavan. I think it happens, it would appear to happen in the Bauma Leela, where not everyone on this level of reality is capable of perceiving or understanding anything. You know, like in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mudo yam nabhijanati manushantanam ashritam. That, you know, when Krishna appears in his human-like form in this world, the mudhas, the foolish, unintelligent people, even though they're seeing him, they can't understand. So the pastimes displayed here are for the benefit of the conditioned souls who have departed from Krishna consciousness. So those pastimes are carried out here to enlighten us. And as part of that, you know, sometimes by Yoga Maya's influence, the devotees of Krishna, the pure devotees, his eternal associates who are accompanying him, are put into different situations. Like Arjuna, you know, he was put in, by the influence of Yoga Maya, he was put into this state of bewilderment, and you know, he needed to understand something. So you know, he was acting as if he were a conditioned soul, although he's an eternal associate of Krishna. So sometimes the associates of Krishna who accompany him to this world, they're in their normal condition, just loving Krishna purely. Then sometimes, you know, for our benefit, you know, we're reminded that this Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you know, who is the controller and the source of everything. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Glories to Srila Prabhupada.